Hello. On tonight's episode of This Uncanny Earth, we look to the stars, not for answers, but for questions that have haunted us since we first looked up. Was Einstein pointing to the multiverse? Could we move stars like chess pieces? And did we fake our greatest achievement just to win a war of ideas during the Cold War? Tonight, all that and more on This Uncanny Earth.
Sorry, I would have been a little faster on that, but I just had some revelations today when I was reading the Bible. So I have a person I study with on Wednesday nights, my good buddy Lawrence, and so I needed to get that out to him while it was still active in my brain, so that I could talk about that later with him. So good stuff, good stuff. My brain is showing me things, and the Bible showing me things, and I'm very excited. I'm very excited. That being said, welcome to another fantastic episode of, in fact, This Uncanny Earth. Tonight, our good buddy Steven, good friend Steven, actually, good friend Steven, will be taking us through space exploration. And I want to say, your ASMR video intro there, at the start of the show was quite different, but I like it. It made me feel comfortable, so I also probably think it probably made the listeners feel comfortable as well. I hope everybody's had a fantastic week. Unfortunately, we were unable to give you the good stuff last week due to a family emergency. If that person wants to talk about it, fine. If not, I will not bring it up. I just want to let you know that's why. But we're back today. We're back to kick off some more amazing content that we have for you right here on YouTube. So you should be subscribing. You should be liking. You should be commenting. You should be doing all the things all the time, all at once. So if there's no business, gentlemen, if there is, I will put the floor up for you two fine folks if you want to talk about something. If not, Steven, you may jump right into it.
All right. So we're going to go ahead and get started
You didn't
with...
even let Spider say anything.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I just
Go
want
ahead.
to make sure there's no business.
You just
Is
go
there any
plow
business?
on through. I'll bring it up later. You talk amongst yourselves.
You
Talk
talk amongst yourselves. I'm a little bit clever.
Go ahead. I'll bring it up later.
Okay, my bad. So we're going to get started with Einstein tonight and his theory of general relativity. So it doesn't just explain gravity. It bends our very understanding of time. Literally bends it. So time moves slower the closer you are to something massive, like a planet, or the faster you travel, like light speed. So it's not just theory, it's actually measurable, according to Einstein. And when you combine that with quantum mechanics, you get something very strange, the many worlds interpretation. You may have heard of this if you're a fan of science fiction. So every choice, every possibility, branching timelines. If anyone watched the Loki series on Disney with Marvel, that was a very good interpretation. It's like a root, like a tree root or something, with all these little branches branching out, and they're all like parallel timelines. All right? So in that sense, time travel might not mean going back, but stepping sideways into a different version of now. So my own personal theory is I believe that, according to Einstein's theory about, how time moves at different speeds and all this, what if time is actually fluid? I believe time is actually fluid, and I believe that if you travel far enough and fast enough, you could actually travel to parallel dimensions or do some sort of time travel and actually get to like an Earth in medieval times or an Earth in dinosaur times just by traveling. So I wanted to ask, what do you guys think? do you think time travel is already happening, or do you think it might be possible? Rob, you seem excited.
I just wanted to ask: isn't Yggdrasil that very same tree that has branching, or is that different worlds and not different timelines?
That is the world tree, but my understanding, if I know my lore, it's the world tree and it's different worlds, not timelines.
And is this also like Sephiroth?
Yes, it is kind of
Okay.
similar. But yes,
We're not
like
talking about Final
multiverse.
Fantasy, by the way.
No.
It's Jewish Kabbalah mysticism stuff. So
Yeah.
I just want to make sure people are like that's Final Fantasy. This show's a fluke. That's all I wanted to say because I wanted to make sure I was on the same page mentally with Yggdrasil because I thought Yggdrasil is multiple worlds because it's like Muspelheim, Nibelheim, Hell, and then Valhalla, and then there's a couple others. So my fault. My
No, you're
bad. Didn't
good.
mean to interrupt.
No, I was actually done. I was asking for what you wanted to say about timelines and time travel now.
One of my favorite topics. I love science fiction with time machines involved. I love it. I think it's cool. Um, Time machine is. I'll be honest with you. I don't think our body could physically handle going back in time. I don't
Yeah.
work. I think that there's too many forces that go against it, and it would tear your body to shreds. And I feel the same way about going into the future. Now, obviously, it's easier to go into the future than it is to go into the past. If we go off things like if you're on a planet, let's say a galaxy away, that planet might, in an hour, here it's been 10 years, So that's about the only way. But as far as time travel, I don't, I think it's cool in theory, but in reality, no, because it doesn't change. If you are a believer of that, it won't change your exact present.
Mm-hmm.
Changes another person.
Universe.
Yes.
Yep. I'm a believer of that too.
Sorry. It's fall and I have allergies. I get allergies in the fall. Doesn't make sense, but it is what it is.
All right. And what about you, Spider?
Space time as a concept is constantly sort of evolving as we discover new things. And when you take something at face value like time dilation or space time folding and things like that, which is basically relativity, you then have to take into account whether the universe is expanding or contracting or both, because that affects the distances, which again affects the length of time. If the universe is contracting, then you're not actually changing any of the time going from one place to another. But if it's expanding, that length of time is getting even bigger. And it throws a lot of wrenches into it, despite the fact that mathematically it's a sound theory. So, but I've mentioned this on the show several times. I've always been fond of looking at the universe like an onion in layers, where multiversal and timelines and various things like that are really just all next to each other in an infinite set of layers. Rather than going forward and back, everything is sideways. And you don't really change any single timeline. You just enter another one or another one or another one, etc.
Yeah.
And there's the changes are so minute that you could hop anywhere from 1 to 4 or 5 10 billion timelines away from your own and have nothing be any different except for one thing. Every other aspect of your life would be the same. You'd still wake up, have the same cup of coffee. You'd still go to the same job. The world events would still happen exactly the same way. But just adjacent to that, there's always the possibility that several things are going to be different, or several more things are going to be different. And it does kind of make you wonder how space exploration fits into that, because by going out and being part of this kind of rubber banding layer fiasco of time, how how feasible is it to go out and explore distant planets and come back and still be able to affect things here in a positive way or a negative way, etc. But it's all conjecture. It's all
Yeah.
hypothesis right now because we haven't really made that step yet, but it is certainly a good thought experiment.
Yeah.
I think one thing that you have to factor into this is how do you stop the time dilation or the time that would occur between you leaving Earth, going to said galaxy, going to said planet, being able to be there for a set time
And coming back.
and then return without it being such a costly time endeavor. Like
Yeah.
you might have the money to do it, but if you're going back and it's 10 years later on your planet, what are you affecting? And that's something you would either have to stop or plan for. So you'd have to send people out, and you hope they don't get attacked, hope they don't get hit by a meteor, hope they don't get destroyed, and in 10 years return. And you have to hope that even happens, that they go there and it's not 12 years or it's not 9 years. You know what I mean?
but
So
see-
it's like you're stuck. So until you could shield yourself from time, you're stuck in a paradox because you're stuck always having to account for the decades that might change. You know, yes, you might colonize Mars, but it might not be for 100 years. Yeah, you might be able to get to a moon off of Jupiter, but once again, you still got to jump. So, and you got to account for the time that it's going to take to do those things.
In my mind, I wouldn't even think about going back. In my mind, it's like a one-way ticket, you know, because like you said, it would take so long to get back, and even trying to affect something back here, in my mind, it would be more like a futuristic vacation almost. Like you go explore for a little bit, and then you just end up stuck there because it's so far away.
Two decent enough bits of science fiction that are worth watching to kind of explore something like that. One is a bit more campy, of course. It's the classic Planet of the Apes, where they go out for a certain amount of time, come back,
Damn
dirty
future, apes.
you know, and that one's kind of sillier, but it does raise some good ideological.
It's a good movie. I like it.
Another much more modern movie, which was a little surprising, was the Lightyear movie, which is based off of the Toy Story Buzz Lightyear character that toy was based off of. They made a separate, like, oh yeah, the real Buzz Lightyear cartoon, this is what he would have been like. And if you've not seen it, you won't know anything about it. But basically, he keeps trying to do this experiment where he takes this ship out to do something. I don't remember what exactly they're doing with the ship, if they're trying to save a timeline or if they're trying to do what they're trying to do. But every time he goes out, time passes in huge chunks, and he's the same, but he comes back, and everyone else is aged. Eventually, until a lot of the people that he used to know have all passed, and all their descendants are there, and they didn't expect him to keep coming back after the last time. And then now they're on a desolate planet because of the climate has plummeted and a lot of different things. And, you know, it's a pretty, despite some other things with the story, because it's a Disney movie and, you know, you take it for what it is. But the basic premise of that was really interesting, and it illustrated what you brought up, that if you go and then come back, you have to be able to deal with the fact that everyone here is aging at a different rate than what you've gone. And if you keep going and coming back for long stretches of time, then the people who are here might not be the same people anymore, and they might not even be here for your mission anymore. What you went out to do, things here might have changed. Whole political landscapes may have altered completely,
100%.
and they might have written you off. And by the time you come back, they don't care.
Or scrap, like you said, or even scrap the whole project altogether. Didn't think it was economically feasible to attain. So they said, we're scrapping it. And then you come back and they don't have the technology to welcome you back.
Yeah.
So you're stuck.
You can't even land. You can't
You can't land. Yeah. And you can't, whatever you've brought with you, what does that do? Because if you bring anything back, and this is just an afterthought, you don't know how that's going to coexist with the life around it. What happens when oxygen hits it? It's little things like that, too, that we have to account for. But if they've already scrapped that project and it's been scrapped for like 20 years, it's, oh, hey, I'm from the 20 years ago.
They won't be ready.
Who are you?
Yeah.
This is a whole new country. what is this?
Records could have been lost, archives
Yeah.
deleted. There might have been a
Yes.
societal partial collapse,
Yes.
and all the people who knew about your mission are all dead.
Yes.
And so you're a threat now, or you're
Hey.
just a curiosity, you know?
We
And you
could
have
get
to
advanced
wonder-
aliens with that.
I think if we're going to branch out into this a little bit further, if the Mars theory that I've hypothesized, and I have no proof, so don't be like, where's all your proof, Uncanny? I don't have any. All right,
NASA has the proof,
it's a
and
cool
they're hiding it.
hypothesis that I like.
Cite your sources.
So I think Mars was once a livable planet. Whether that is the Garden of Eden and we had to come here, however, in the ark, as it were. The interesting part is it looks inhabitable and people might have lived there, right? But then there's pock marks on one of the sides. I forget which side of it. I think it's the western side.
And the face.
And, well, I think the face could be pareidolia or however you pronounce that word. I think it's pareidolia. But what I do think is if it was livable at one time, they had a catastrophe, whether that be like an ELE event, where there was a nuclear war, or whether they got hit by asteroids at their atmosphere, or they couldn't, kick the asteroid away, destroy the planet. And then what I think happened is they sent people out. They sent people out to different places across the universe or here on Earth, right, to terraform Earth, because Earth almost feels like it was terraformed, whether that was intelligent design, God making the Earth and then, making things happen so that certain life forms would die out as they were threatening to man. And then what you have is you have these ancient civilizations, and this is all going to circle back, I promise. This isn't just some long-winded thing. Then you have civilizations that have pictures on cave walls of things that look like astronauts, of the
And
things that look like the astronauts with the hair.
Yeah.
And then when they come back, so we're full circle to this again, they went out and they came back maybe, and
On a rocket
it's
ship.
been so long that they don't even know what technology is.
Exactly.
It's been destroyed so much
And it's on a cycle.
that they are like, well, we don't know what this is. Now, that's just this is fun hypothesizing time with Rob.
Yeah.
Okay. But I think it's a fascinating note that he brings up that the whole thing gets scuttled. They just stop.
Mhm.
They forget about you because they're thinking, the scientists might be thinking, okay, our guy's estimated 7 years. 3 years wouldn't make a difference. But if they estimate 7 and you're going for 2025, they've given up. Because what are you going to do? You can't bring the ship back. You have no way to send out a signal that will act as a remote control to bring your ship back. So 25 years later, you come back, you're like, well, we thought you were dead. Like Spider said, a partial societal collapse happens,
Yep.
And I think that it's a good point to make because considering time, I think that's the first thing you got to understand about traveling in space. Because what if we do send some people out? What if we make that ability and bring it into a reality and we go to Mars, or we go even further to Ganymede, or one of the other moons of Jupiter or Saturn that we
Titan.
can be on? I think Titan was another one. But then what if we on Earth have that societal collapse? And we're
Then
not
you don't know how to
expecting
do
them to,
that.
we don't know if they're coming back, because if a societal collapse happens, the government's not going to tell you anything.
Nope.
The government's on their way out. And the last thing they're going to do is just drop a hot bunch of secrets. Or
Yeah.
maybe they will. Maybe they will. Maybe somebody, but it won't happen. Because, you know what? Continue, because I'm going to get into a whole rant. I've got a new one, by the way, Spider. I've got a new one. I'll tell you about it after the show, but I've got a new one. It's a good one. But go ahead. This isn't my show, and I'm talking way too much.
Did you have anything else, Spider?
No, I don't want to get too far into it because I want to make sure I follow where you're going, and
Okay.
I don't want to step on your toes.
Yeah,
and
you're good.
Get into something ahead of.
All right.
Ahead
So
of schedule.
real quick, before we continue to the next segment, I just wanted to mention, like, because this is actually one of my favorite ancient astronaut theories, is that, we go up, like you guys said, we lose access to the technology, we don't know it anymore, society collapses, has to rebuild from the Stone Age all the way back up to modern times. Astronauts come down from space, they help us rebuild with their knowledge and their technology. And real quick, to reference all this and say why I'm mentioning all this again, is there is an anime known as Dr. Stone, where they actually had a very similar story where the whole world got petrified by stone for like 10,000 years, and then when they woke up, there was a very intelligent man. His name was Senku, and he was like a scientist, and he was very intelligent, and he had to actually help them rebuild society and give them all this technology all the way from the Stone Age. And like, what's really cool about it is it's all actual factual information based on real science. Like, on one episode he made glasses, on another episode he used paper, and like, apparently if you put paper in a certain like shape with enough layers of it, it's as strong as a tank. But enough of that.
That's true. That's true.
Like, it's
Engineering
really
is a
cool
fascinating
though.
Science. I wish I understood engineering more, because I have a good mind for that kind of improvisation, for like kind of jury rigging things together. I just don't know any of the mathematics, so I can't do anything like I
see.
can't do any of the cool stuff. But I love engineering. Stuff like that it seems like miracles to people. It's the same kind of thing that ancient people would see as a miracle, some forms of modern engineering.
All right, that's it. We're doing it. We're doing a spinoff. This Uncanny Engineering. Rob's gonna teach us math.
I ain't gonna remember half.
Yeah,
of it.
no one's gonna watch that. Okay, anyways, enough.
Ooh, that was insulting. Mathematicians would watch it.
Not insulting to you, insulting the math. So anyway,
wow, and you dissed me twice.
Double dipping.
Let's say we could cross these vast distances, though. So what if we could cross these vast distances or jump timelines? We would need something far more advanced than simple rockets. Think stellar engines, devices built around stars, Skadov thrusters. Skadov? I honestly don't know how to pronounce that. If you want to correct me, if you know better than I do.
Shattuckov
thrusters. Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
they nudge the sun across space. And real quick, a Shattuckov thruster is a theoretical megastructure and stellar engine first proposed by Russian physicist Leonid Shakidov in a 1987 paper titled Possibility of Controlling Solar System Motion in the Galaxy. It functions as a Class A stellar engine designed to move a star and its entire planetary system by harnessing the star's radiation pressure. So just
so proud of you.
So everyone knows what it is. And then
so proud of you right now.
We could also use Dyson swarms that harvest solar energy like crops, or antimatter drives, fuel that explodes on contact, creating pure force. That'd be pretty cool. So, out of all these technologies, theoretically, of course, which one do you feel we could discover first? Or do you think we would discover something completely different? And would we even know if another civilization had built one? Or would we think it would just look like a wandering star, like, Oumuamua or Three-Eye Atlas or something like that, maybe?
Oh, okay. All right. This is fun.
Who wants to go first?
So, I'm going to go first, obviously. I'm hyped. So, the Shattuckov thruster is quite an interesting piece of technology. It takes the galaxy and moves it up and down to avoid potential asteroids and to potential invaders, meteorites. To be able to move a whole solar system is kind of phenomenal to me.
Need the whole power of our sun, right?
Yes, all of it. They would set up. You'd have to set up a base on Mercury to be able to fuel it.
The mirrors.
Because the way it works.
I've got it pulled up if you want me to read it.
It takes the heat.
You got it.
From the sun, and then pushes. You can go up and down. It's cool. That's probably. Yeah. And then what was the second part of your question?
The second part was, if another civilization had discovered it, how would we even know? Or would we think it was just interstellar junk like 3i, Atlas, or a Muamua, something like that?
So I don't know if you guys remember this, but like this was the thing on the news for a bit about they were getting readings of energy from like different places out in the solar system that matched kind of like a Dyson sphere would, like potentially. And I remember they were like, yeah, there's multiple Dyson spheres out there. And I'm like, how do y'all know what a Dyson sphere is? Because,
It's
whatever.
theoretical.
It's
But,
out there vacuuming. It's vacuuming.
right. Have you got the Dyson sphere? It rolls on a ball. But to me, this is my problem with history. People make people look stupid, like in the ancient times.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, they were a bunch of danguses, and all they did was bait wood together. And you find things like the Antikythera mechanism or any of those sort of like, we can't understand it. And I've often told Spider this. I think that they were advanced in a different way that still understood mathematics, physics, gravity, time, but they just were able to manipulate it different than we can. And like the where is it at? It's so well put together you can't even put a credit card through it. And it has like a doorway, but it's in the middle of a desert.
Is it one of the pyramids?
I think it's Pumapunku. I think it's part of that.
Yeah.
But it's so well put together you can't even push a credit card through it, like into the slot. It's built that well. And we can't even really do that.
Yeah.
And like he said, yeah. And all of these structures that we're seeing, especially in South America, they're all in like hard to reach places. It's not just like they're like, yeah, we built this city right here next to this big lake, and all the stone was right here next to the lake. This stuff was far, and they built whole civilizations. So I think that people, we find stuff and we think it's what it is based on how we use our knowledge, right?
Our perspective.
And like the history that we know. So we try to match it with what we have now.
Yeah.
What could it be from we have now? It sounds like a show. What could it be from what we have now? Right? And so,
I'd watch that.
Oh, it'd be great. So we look at it like, oh yeah, this was just this, right? But then you have people like Edward Leedskalnin that figured out how they built the pyramids and was able to utilize that to some degree that we don't know of. I believe that the technology was as advanced, maybe more advanced, but done differently. It wasn't done the same way that we do things. Because the way we do things is a certain way that we have been taught for as long as our present cycle of our life has happened, right? Because we have the before flood and the after flood. Before the flood, there's so many tales of more technologically advanced things. Then after the flood, it resets. So because they had to, ages changed, because the King's List gets a lot shorter. The Sumerian King's List goes from like, you're living a long time, chief, to maybe 120. And I'm talking years, decades, thousands, 10,000s of years.
Millenniums.
It's crazy because it's like this king and then all of a sudden you have this break and then they live less. And considering what the flood could have done as a worldwide aspect, since there's multiple flood myths, it would reset the entire planet.
That was the whole point.
A worldwide flood would reset the entire planet. Things wouldn't be the same when the waters came down as they were when the waters went up. Things get destroyed. Water does a lot of damage. Water and fire.
Highly destructive.
Water and fire do a lot of damage. Irreversible damage. You know, ask somebody that's lived in a flood. Your house is pretty much ruined. You know, because it's gonna, yeah, you better have a strong foundation. That's it. Like, so water and fire.
Yep.
I'm gonna answer or provide something for the second half of that question first.
Okay.
In that, and I've mentioned this or variations of this on the show as well before, in that the technology that we have now is based on mass production, and it's based on disposability of a sort. Not necessarily meaning it's easy to break down, but meaning you use something, then you throw it away. And previous civilizations we've seen, people did not have that philosophy yet. They didn't build things just to build them. They didn't make them just to make them. Every single thing that was made had a purpose. You build a house, it's for people to live in. You build a
Yeah.
big monument, it's specifically built because they wanted a monument that said something. It stands to reason that what they would use to build these things would also be for that specific purpose. And when that's done, they would most likely recycle it. They would take apart their ancient cranes or their ancient levers and all their pieces parts to use them for other things because they valued the components. They valued what they were making. They didn't just make an assembly line to just run continuously and just pump out Sony stereos a million an hour. They didn't see things in manufacturing that way. They saw everything with purpose. And you saw that when they went to colonize different places. When America, the United States, was founded, of course, they brought the boats over. And frequently, once you're here, if you're staying, if you don't need to send the boat back, there's no reason to have the boat anymore. You take it apart, use the materials from the boat to help build your town, to help do different things. Frequently, the bell that boats had to signal in fog and whatnot became the town's bell, the church bell, things of that nature. So it's only in modern post-industrial revolution times where that philosophy has fundamentally changed. And we have to look at it from another perspective too, that again, we're trying to move, some sectors of society are trying to move toward a future where rather than being just disposable, everything is biodegradable so that you can dispose of it and not worry about it anymore, because we have a landfill problem, of course, at least here in this country, probably other places as well, where there's just trash building up and building up and building up. It goes nowhere. So with the assumption that we're working on that, if you assume that another species is going to be more advanced than us, then they potentially would have figured that out, and everything that they make is biodegradable. And especially if you have a disaster that's highly destructive, such as a flood, it's going to speed up the process of biodegradation, which means everything that you're looking for to say, oh, well, of course, there's no advanced technology, so they didn't have it. Well, it's not there potentially because it was all made to break down over time so it didn't pollute the place you were going. And we as a species are getting closer to that. So you have to, again, if you assume that other potential species are going to think like us in some respect, that they would have hit upon that and continued that. And the other part of it too is that some of the things that we are working on now as far as space travel is concerned, to make long distances and to cut down that dilation, one of the more promising areas that we're working on, that I think we're going to get to first before we get into Dyson spheres, before we get into these stellar engines, before we get into anything like that, is ion drive technology. Ion drive technology shows huge promise. It's not faster than light travel, but it does definitely aid in moving from here to there much quicker than what we have right now. And it will cut down that dilation by quite a bit. It's not going to eliminate it, but the more you can narrow that gap, the more feasible exploration and coming back to talk about it really is. Otherwise, as you mentioned previously, going out is more or less a one-way trip. If you're going to do it right, you go out and you go out. You can't really worry about what you're leaving behind. But if you want to try to help the people back home, you have to figure out a way how. And they're getting closer. They're narrowing that gap. And ion drive technology, I think, is going to be the first major breakthrough we're going to get to. And we're in a tough spot right now with space funding and things of that nature. Other countries are sending up a lot more stuff than we are right now because they're still government funded. Ours are mostly sent out to contractors at the moment, and what we do have for federal stuff is being cut. Not talking about the shutdown or anything like that, just in a general sense. There's been a lot of NASA cuts over the last few years, which is unfortunate. I'm a big fan of space exploration. I think what we need is out there. I don't think we're going to keep finding it here because we're going to run out of things here eventually. It's just the nature of how things are. But if we can keep the momentum going, if we can keep people interested, if we can keep pushing it forward, I think ion technology is the first feasible and realistic technology that we're going to have to get to where we're going and still be able to come back and tell the people back home about it before they've all aged out.
Yeah. Because definitely, speed is going to be one of the most important factors. So next up, we've got from paperclip to propulsion. Our journey to the moon didn't begin with science, it began with war. Werner von Braun, the man who gave us the Saturn V rocket, was also a neo-socialist who built the V-2, a weapon that bombed cities. After the war, America quietly smuggled him and hundreds of other neo-socialist scientists into NASA under Operation Paperclip, which was named after the paperclip that they found on the files with the list of names. Without them, we probably wouldn't have gotten to the moon, or at least not when we did. So the real question we have to ask ourselves about America and the moon landing is, did the ends justify the means, or did we trade ethics for image? Rob, let's start with you.
This is the conundrum. But no, we should have absolutely 100% without a doubt sent all of those people, all of those Nazis into the moon. Like all
the
of
Russians.
Them. Every single one of them, and just, oops, sorry, the rocket exploded on the way up.
Because
that's heartless to say, but what they did was
heartless to do.
And the fact that the U.S. government let them in speaks volume about who our government really is, but that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother time. No, the ends don't justify the means. We would have figured it out. We would have figured it out. We were already close as it was. His little bit of V2 rocket knowledge is just what helped us launch the rocket. It didn't dictate that we wouldn't have figured it out, because we had the most brilliant scientists from around the world already there, working on the nuclear bomb. And then that's just a stepping stone. The nuclear aspect is how we get the jump off point, right? That's how we colonize Mars. We need to be able to use nuclear energy to push us out to at least a point where we can start building, say, like a space station. But not to get too far off topic. Yes, the ends didn't justify the means. It was just you can't commit acts of war crimes and things like that and then get a warm welcome here. I don't agree with it. After they got the knowledge they needed, maybe then they could have been
like the Russians did.
The Russians made them still give them their secrets, and then they yeah. So the Russians did it how it should have been done. Yeah, but Russia was to their leadership made people paranoid. Yeah. So there was no way they were going to succeed because all of the people were against each other. They were ready to turn people in, and Stalin wasn't no joke. He was murdering most of his people. If he saw you at like 3 p.m. and you looked funny, you were dead. Like, you just could have been some schlub walking to work, walking to your job, and dude sees you and he's like, "We must get rid," and you're dead. Yep. So the the scientists that were brought here definitely got it better than the ones that were taken to Russia.
Yeah.
That's for damn sure. Like, we pretty much gave them lifetime salaries while people starved. That's wild. That's wild. That's
Yeah.
wild. Anyways.
And vacations and cushy jobs. Spider, what do you think?
It's one of those areas where we can talk about hindsight. We can talk about,
Yeah.
well, we should have done this or we should have
2020.
done that. But it's another thing at the time that you look back on, and without that little jump start, we might not have had the upper hand early on, because we had the upper hand quick. The Russians had kind of been a little bit ahead of us on things. They were sending out small satellites before we were. And the heart of it was, everybody thought, well, if you can get something out into space, then you can hit the planet from space. It wasn't, they didn't have any idea how or why. They just knew that we have the atom bomb. Russia is now getting the atom bomb, and Russia's mad at us. And if they get farther out than we do, we can't see where they're launching it from, so we can't stop them. So we have to get there first. So the whole thing was based around Cold War, building up to the Cold War kind of untrustworthiness of each other. And on the one hand, that's kind of like, that's a terrible reason to do things, because you're just showing that you're competing with somebody as far as who's potentially going to kill off the other one.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it was a hugely intense personal competition. And one thing that, despite the fact that I hate personal competition and I hate competing against people, I understand that competition is 100% one of the most important things that we have as a species, because it keeps you creative. It keeps you uncomfortable. It keeps you thinking about, well, how do I outdo this? How do I do better than that? How do I win this? How do I do that? And it forces you as a society to kind of advance things and test things and play with things that you might not have otherwise. And sometimes that can be dangerous. And a lot of times there's a lot of failures. But it's a necessary part of developing anything, because otherwise you're just going to be like, oh, let's try and make this. Oh, that didn't work. Whatever. There's no consequences. Who cares? We don't make another one. Whereas now it's, let's make this. Oh, we failed. What are the consequences? These other guys are going to succeed. They're doing better than we are. And then they're going to use it to do this that's going to be hurtful to us. Oh, we can't have that. And it's a vital part of human nature to compete.
Yeah.
And so despite all the kind of dirty tricks and backstabbing and the people who were saved that probably shouldn't have been saved and various other things that were really underhanded that continue to this day, a lot of that you can kind of say, well, it's sort of for the greater good. Because look where we are now. Look at all of the things that came out of that. Look at all of the things that were originally developed for space travel and for various things like that now are everyday things, like microwaves and cell phones and all these other things, you know.
But
And yes,
why
you can
not
say this,
dispose
oh,
of them afterwards?
because they're useful. Because they've changed things for us. And another thing is too, and it's a fine line here, because certain people have done awful, awful, awful things, and it doesn't matter how smart they are, how good they've tried to make themselves, how ingratiating they are. They have done something truly heinously awful. Not to really go too far off the point, but say, for example, a certain man named Ian Watkins did something terrible to an infant in the past. If you don't know who he is, he's a real person. It's not just an example I pulled out of my ass here. He did something awful, and I don't care what his creative success was after the fact.
Oh, I saw that the other day.
What he did was awful. Cannot be forgiven, cannot be condoned under any circumstances.
Yeah.
He recently met his end in prison. He was in prison for what he did. And there are going to be people like that. There will always be people like that. If you pick a scientist from Auschwitz and you want to use him to do things for you and keep him alive because he's helpful to you, I kind of think that's where the moral line has to be drawn.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If he's a participant in something like that,
Yeah.
You should kind of just force him by some method to write down what he knows and then quietly shuffle off. But in other points, and I don't mean you have to forgive people either. I think people should be on permanent house arrest if they've done things that are slightly less heinous than that, but are still kind of like, you know what? You're kind of a crap person, but you're handy to have around, so we're going to keep you around. But if you screw up, if you make one move towards doing something like you used to, that's it. You're done.
And I can support that.
You kind of have to do it on a case by case.
Before we get too far, I want to say this.
Mm-hmm.
This is why we landed on the moon. For all of you who think we didn't, what he just said is proof. Because please believe, if Russia would have got there first, it would have been nothing but a brag fest. Or if we had faked it, China and Russia would have jumped on our ass in a heartbeat.
He's going to hate the next topic.
Who do not believe that we landed on the moon, that is the proof. And if you think that Russia and the United States are really just best friends and we were tee-heeing and joking the entire time, tell that to all the people that got killed. Tell that to all the spies and the double agents and all that other shit. It was just, tell that to them.
People still.
Because
some of our best soldiers.
That's the thing. That's all I'm saying. That's the thing. So thank you for bringing that up.
People still get kidnapped and disappeared between both countries for that. Like every time there's a lot of times you'll see in the news, oh yeah, some journalist was in Russia for whatever. Oh, all of a sudden they've been poisoned, or there's this and there's that. Oh, what happened to them? Oh, we have no idea. Oh, yeah, we know.
Oopsies.
There's some merit to the worldwide conspiracy, the worldwide Illuminati conspiracy thing of leaders. But there's also the reality, the very harsh, brutal reality that people at high levels in different countries cannot stand each other and will not work.
Leon, I'm doing the show. I'll see you tomorrow, buddy. I said I'd do the show. I love you.
So
I love you. I'm doing the show.
And I think that's a fair point. There's no way that Putin and the various other European leaders are all like secretly planning things behind the scenes while publicly being pissed at each other. It's just not going to happen.
Except in Antarctica.
I can't buy into that. I'm sorry. The fact that like people have died over this, I just can't. This is another one between this and Flat Earth.
Opinion.
I can.
It's not even about opinion. They literally have a peace treaty on Antarctica.
Antarctica's different. Antarctica's different.
That's what I'm.
Antarctica, I think, is something that is detrimental to power being held. That's me. Once again, hey, am I there? No, I probably couldn't go there. They would attack me, or they would let me go there, but it would just be because Antarctica is huge. So unless you know exactly where to go, because they're not just going to start shooting random things down unless you know where you're going. They'll be like, hey, we're going to take some airspace. You're not supposed to be here. We're going to have some, what are you doing here? What's your clearance codes? Then they're going to send some ships after you. But if you get too close, I think they just, oops, there goes your ship. Your ship's gone. God bless. God bless.
Yep.
Anyway, that's me.
Now, James says he believes the moon is within the firmament, also leaning towards it being plasma. And that's actually what we're getting into next. That's going to be our last topic for the night. Oh, Rob, I know you hate me right now.
Now?
Yeah. All the time.
All the time.
So that leads us to the rabbit hole from the moon landing, as you mentioned a minute ago. I'm going to mention it. Did we even go to the moon? Or was it all a show? A Cold War magic trick? There's no stars in the footage. There's a perfect launch video from the moon's surface, despite not having a very big, launch pad. And the astronauts, when they came back, they looked anxious and scared. And strangely subdued, even haunted. They didn't look excited like people who just got back from the moon. Now, as you said, there is evidence that also suggests that the moon landing was real. As my research told me that we have reflectors still bouncing lasers from the surface, moon rocks studied globally, but that one's a bit strange. Moon rocks have been found, but the content that they're made of doesn't fit the official story exactly.
Well, it's
And
probably from debris in space. Like,
suspicion isn't just about
Mhm.
evidence, it's about trust. And in a world built on image, sometimes the lie feels more real than the truth. And also, they have hit the moon with rockets and say that it gonged for like over an hour. They say that the moon sounds hollow. So, what I'm asking you guys is what's more likely? That we never went to the moon, or that we went and what we found made them hide the truth? So, Rob seems very passionate about this, so we'll let him answer us first.
okay, so we definitely went. That's not something I feel is up for debate at this point. So if we look at it, the best way that I think it happened is because there was a collision with another planet, not our planet, but another planet. The 12th planet, supposedly Nibiru, and there was Uranus and all that kind of crashed, sent chunks out. I know.
All deck.
And maybe that it was caught in our Earth's atmosphere, or not, or I'm sorry, gravitational pull, and just started orbiting us. I've heard it's a base, like a floating base. I've
Alien
heard that
base.
before too. The one thing I do think is interesting that
Have
you
heard
brought
the
up
full
just
trap?
now,
Sorry.
that you just brought up, was how shaken some of the astronauts came back after being there.
Oh, I don't know,
So-
James. I don't know who actually recorded it when it left the moon. That's a good question, though. Sorry. Go ahead.
I mean, if we're gonna go into this, all they would have needed was a second shuttle there that they didn't tell nobody about to film it. Because why were they scared? A few of them were scared. Some people said they saw stuff on the moon. That right there is terrifying.
The dark
I
side
think
of the
it's I think it's a lot deeper than what we see.
Yeah.
And like I said, because like I said, the only question I have is, why didn't Russia and China jump on our ass?
moon. Maybe
you
they
know-
were scared too.
But scared of what?
Scared of the aliens. Aliens on the
tough one.
moon. And this isn't the only story about aliens on the moon either, because if
I've
you'll
heard this.
remember the remote viewing with what was his name? Ingo Swan, when he did the remote viewing, and they said he found aliens in a base on the dark side of the moon, and the FBI, like the
Floyd,
CIA,
Dark
they all
Side.
told him, they told him to stop.
Like I said, the government doesn't tell us everything. I think we can all, even if you don't
Yeah.
believe like we do, I think we all can agree on this,
I agree.
right?
Yep.
So you have a one for show. You have the one that does the walk and all that jazz. You have a second one that they don't tell nobody about, that they land with them to go do other stuff.
Yep.
And I think we found, because another thing people like to say is, well, how come we haven't been back? See,
Yep.
like clockwork. They do.
Valid question.
I think they found something there that scared them. To be quite fair and frank, I think they found something there, or they didn't see any reason to go back. They couldn't use it as a jump-off point. We don't have the technology for a jump-off point.
If they didn't see a reason to go back then what's the reason to go back now? What's the difference?
Well, now if we can have a landing point to jump from the moon to Mars,
Mm-hmm.
that's why we would have that. You have a little base set up, but we don't have the ability to sustain life like that, like we would here. So, but yeah, I can't. Like the moon landing happened. And I'll stand on that.
And James
'Cause I
says
think-
that. Oh,
Well,
go ahead.
here's the thing. Let's even go back further. Let's go to the Dogon people who knew about Sirius B. Go to these other people that knew about these planets and these places. Zoroastrians, you know, they knew about these different planets and alignments. Like I said, that's me. You know, take that for whatever that's worth. We'll let Spider.
Yep. Let Spider finish us out.
For the original moon landing, there were 3 astronauts that went. 1 out of the 3 can very easily hold the camera. If you watch the footage, generally, they don't have all 3 of them in the frame at the same time. And I believe they've said in interviews that, yeah, I stayed here, I filmed while so-and-so was hopping along, doing the thing, you know. And you can disagree and just say that, well, that's a good excuse.
What about the live stream?
But it's because it was a radio transmitter. Is what it was. They already had satellite technology to send data back and forth. There, of course, was a delay between here and there, which people conveniently ignore and say, oh, why didn't you see it? Because there's a delay. And people can call that excuses and whatever they want, but it's all logic. It's Occam's razor. The simplest explanation is often the most correct. You don't have to develop a theory around it to say that it's something fantastical or that it didn't happen. I mean, if it didn't happen and I'm wrong, by all means, I'll be wrong. But I don't think so.
Agreed.
And why didn't we go back? Because at the time, it was hugely expensive to get there the first time, and there wasn't much there to find. They brought the moon rocks back, and what they found was not much worth going back for at the time. Now they think because we have more sophisticated equipment, we can dig for more things. We think, oh, you know what? There might be more stuff than there was before. We didn't get a chance to really dig deep. It was our first mission, whatever. The other countries that were trying to beat us there had spent so much of their own money, and Russia, ever since then, Russia's been dealing with economic issues since then. Russia has always had economic problems since the collapse of the Tsar, since the collapse of the original empire and the influx of communism. Their economy has been trashed, and then we've only smacked it ever since.
And their nuclear program, I think, was kind of a nail in the coffin. I think after Chernobyl, you know, because that's it. Mm-hmm. You know, you're going to lose faith, and if your people don't have faith in you,
and it's a valid point. If their government sees that we went there, and then through the channels and the grapevine, what the Americans say? Everything we can use? Oh, they found some rocks, and there's really not much hope there that we can't get down here. Oh, well, then we don't have any point to keep going back ourselves. Let them spend the money. And then when we saw them not spending the money, we're like, well, they're not spending the money. We don't need to spend the money either. Heck with it. And that it's a simple explanation.
Yeah.
And as for not being able to see stars and whatnot, camera resolution. The difference from just camera resolution from 10 years ago to today is massive. Yeah. You ever looked at a digital camera from 10 years ago? Huge. Huge.
I have one. I have one.
One from 10 years before that.
Oh.
Like,
it's like goodness. A potato. You look like a potato.
Like, camera resolution was not the same.
It would be blurry, but I would think you would still see it.
You can't apply modern thought to it necessarily because the early technology cut out a lot of detail. It's not about blur. It's about color spectrum. It's about light capturing and things like that. The cameras didn't even capture certain shades of light like they did. That's why old movie sets that are in black and white had to be lit a certain way. When you see those in color, when they've done colorized versions, some serious good horror movies from back in the day look absolutely friggin' ridiculous in color. Because if they'd had color, they would have had to do it completely different. Because
so they just added color to black and white movies. And sometimes to the movie's detriment. Like you could could finally see the strings on the bats and the UFOs and things like that. You're like, if they didn't do the color, you wouldn't be able to see that.
So, you know, there's a lot of good reasons to say that yes, we went, but this is why you didn't see this. This is why you didn't see this.
Yep.
And again, the other most obvious one is if we didn't, then the other countries would call us out on it to this day.
Yeah, facts.
Like China and India have
Facts.
both been there now since then.
Yeah.
Recently, in the last several years, you think they'd go up there now and then be like, "Oh, you know what? We didn't find anything from the Americans there. What is this BS? They've been
Yes.
lying to you for a while." They would put it out. It'd be front page news.
Yeah.
They could
Scam
all
back.
be lying.
Never get away from it. Oh, they could, but why?
Yeah, why? Like this.
Make themselves look good.
No. Once again,
They would
Pure
make themselves
ego.
look even better by saying, "We got here and you guys didn't."
yes, facts.
It's a waving contest of body parts.
It's
Body part
100% a peeing contest
And
is
so-
what it is.
And that goes with a lot of things with space. That goes
Facts.
with a lot of things with space. That if one person can get there and the other ones don't, they're certainly going to say, "Yep, we're doing this," and they're not. And if
That's
the
why
other
we're the
people call
first to
them
have
out on it,
Space Force.
the other people are going to call them out on it. And
Yes.
that's world politics are a lot more competitive and a lot more
World
compelling.
politics are like high school. They're the equivalent of high school. It's all the competition. However, it's just a geriatric high school because they're all old. So it's a geriatric high school. It's what it is.
It's a lot more difficult than just saying there's one big shadow government that keeps the information under wraps, because there's too many inconsistencies for that.
Yes.
If it is one big shadow government keeping everything under wraps, they're doing a terrible job, and they suck.
Awful.
And
Now,
if they suck at it,
I
how
could
they
see
be so powerful?
I could see a corporation doing that though. That's very much something I could see.
Yeah.
happening. That.
Corporations
That,
hire think
yes.
tanks and they spend money,
Yes.
and money
Yes.
talks.
But once
then,
again-
at the same time, you spend money to change somebody's opinion. They're going to keep that opinion until the money runs out. And
Yep.
then, oh, well, you didn't pay me my money, so now I'm going to talk bad. Or
Whoops,
whatever,
my opinion changed.
you know? So it's a lot more
Yes.
complicated. And while
Agreed.
I can't discount the theories, I generally have to assume towards the most logical answers have to be the most correct answers. And I'm willing to be proven wrong. I'm always willing to be
Same.
proven wrong if
Same.
the evidence comes up.
Agreed.
So
Agreed.
that's what I think.
All right. You want to close this out, Rob?
Yes, sir. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of This Uncanny Earth, episode 341. We have just been going hard, and we're going in, and each week we're going to be bringing you great content. Also, check out my two good friends up there. They're above me. So we got Spider doing some streaming, and he'll be streaming here in a bit, and I will be there, and Steven will be there, and we'll just be engaging in shenanigans. It's going to be a good time. You can catch Steven probably not as much on his channel. He's too busy working out math problems and trying to solve math problems faster. So kudos to him. Hey, if you can find new tricks and put those out there, math needs that. Math needs more of that.
I'm going to upload my apps for free when I get done with them.
And we're going to love to see it. So, as always, my fine good folks, happy pre-Halloween, by the way. Hope you guys have a good Halloween. That's a hat that's a corporation that knows too much. So, all right, y'all.
Pains here. I don't know if I should still be working for them or not. You think that's
For
a good
not? You
sign?
should not. No.
Oh.
You know, I've been working for the UAV, and
Okay.
I just see things out of my peripheral every now and again. I'm fine. I went to Mars for a bit, so good times. All right, y'all. See y'all later. Have a good night. And as always, why be boring when you can be uncanny? We will see you folks next week.